Well, it's a very interesting phrase because it's actually been around for a long time. Back in the 1960s, the biggest innovation in marketing theory was broadening the concept of marketing. Until that time, nobody had ever thought to apply marketing principles to nonprofit organizations or to government or to any other kind of activity other than businesses. So the term has been around for a long time because all of a sudden people who were caring about the environment in the 1960s were open to the idea we could make the world better if we perhaps took the marketing approach of making profits by satisfying customers to non-profit entities. In other words, making all kinds of organizations responsive to their customers and to their public. So that was a major breakthrough. But in the meantime, of course, many areas developed. Banks began marketing and so on. So we don't think of it as anything new at this time. What I see happening, particularly in Europe and in the States, is that the individual customer is now taking their beliefs to the marketplace, their political beliefs, their concerns about the environment, all of those kinds of things. We have now this incredible array of media that allow us to express how we see ourselves and what our beliefs are. For example, you go to Facebook and you can like or unlike people, companies, brands, ideas, politicians, celebrities. And you go to other social media and you are not just expressing what you like in terms of what you're going to buy, but judgments. Is this a good company? Is this a company I want to support or not? So the real revolution is happening now where customers can buy products like a telephone, but as you will see, I have a special iPhone. It's red. And the whole campaign of red is about wiping out AIDS all over the world. So you have a company like Apple that is now supporting a cause like eradicating AIDS around the world. And there are many, many other examples of that, where the effect will be some customers who would have loved that brand don't like what the company is doing in terms of its social or political activities. And then other people will be influenced by a company's social activities or political activities to prefer that brand. We saw that happen very immediately because we have a president now who's a business person. And so his daughter, Ivanka Trump, has a brand of clothing, and it's sold in many different upscale department stores. Nordstrom's is one of them. And when he was elected, immediately there was a boycott of Nordstrom's because it sold Ivanka's shoes. Now, there may have been other places where people who support Trump would buy Ivanka's shoes. But what I'm suggesting is that no longer are consumers making only economic decisions. This is a good value, the price is right, etc. And why that's a challenge is that the way we've always taught marketing was to offer the customer an economic value proposition. Well, it's a very dicey situation for businesses. Why do I say that? The Ivanka Trump example suggests that you maybe know your target market in terms of what they want to buy, but you may not know what their political beliefs are or their support, for example, of climate change. So a company, it's dicey because people are looking for that company to have a policy, but once they have a policy, it potentially can run some customers away at the same time that it attracts others. So that's why it's dicey. One of the things I emphasize when I do work with companies is that it's not enough to have an economic value proposition. You need to have a cultural values proposition. And that means that you need to let the public know what the company and its brand stands for. Some examples. The philanthropic activities of companies will be looked at much more intensively. And marketing in the past never had influence over a company's philanthropic activities. The financial alliances that companies have, their investors, the banks that fund them, and so forth, again, can be good or bad according to the beliefs of customers. So the match has to be, you know what your customers believe and that your policy is consistent. Public relations, of course, is another one of those, but also unexpected. Who are the people this company hires? That is a signal of the company's beliefs. Do they have a diverse workforce? Is their board of directors all white men? And on and on. So who do they hire? What are their policies? People, for example, who are gay are very much interested in companies that have benefits for unmarried partners. So you say, oh, who cares about all this? Well, here's why companies have to care. It's because the gay person goes to websites, just like many others, where there are ratings of companies according to that person's beliefs. And so, again, it's just simply important that a company communicate what its beliefs are, and it does so by the alliances they have and their policies, and to communicate that to the people who they would like to be their customers. Well, the challenges, as I see, are really very, very strong on both ends. For example, I never have had to have my religious beliefs, my economic beliefs, my political beliefs, and my social beliefs all lined up and consistent. Because we're human beings and we're inconsistent. But the media where we go to express ourselves today really kind of force you to take opinions, maybe that you didn't even know that how you felt. So I think it's challenging for the consumer to be consistent when we're not naturally consistent. And the challenge is that many people also really don't know those things. But when you're on a medium where things are being discussed like climate change, I keep referring to that, but that's a big one. Some people believe that it's caused by human activity, others do not. Scientists, for the most part, agree that it is caused. But everybody has a different take on how it's relevant to them. So that's where the trick is, that some people will be looking at the activities of a company with regard to climate change, and others will not. So the challenge for the customer is to be consistent, and the challenge for companies is to know who their target audiences are and who they are. And I say a lot of times in Latin America, my experience is that a company reflects very much the people who are its management and board of directors. So there will be more demands, perhaps, for more diversity in both who they hire and who's on their boards and who's in their management, in order to really understand the variety of expectations that people have about companies. I like to think of it this way. In the past, companies were economic organizations. Today, they're social organizations. Well, I have to say, I'm not up on everything that is happening here in business because I just come very infrequently, but my studies see that Latin America is very quick to adapt trends that affect business from other places. So I guess I would say I see that happening here. It may be pushed from the customer. Why? Because they are the ones who are using social media to express who they are. And so social media are both a reflection of all those different kinds of views and images of brands and their companies, but they're also information for the company to take stands on issues that are outside the economic range.